Hello, this is Thomas, K4SWL. If you're new here, I like to do real-time, real-life amateur radio field activation videos. And today I'm doing something a little different. Normally I am doing solo activations, but not today. I've got Brooks with me. He is call sign Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie. And Brooks got in contact with me, what, 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, roundabout.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he wants to do his first activation. He's only been a ham less than a year now. And he has equipment at home. He likes chasing parks, and he wanted to do an activation. He's trying to get his gear together to have his own portable setup. And he's interested in the ICOM IC705, so that's the radio we brought out today. And he's also interested in the MFJ, I think the model number is 1988 LP end-fed half-wave, and that's what we have out here today too. You can see it here. We launched a lineup. It only took 2 tries to get it up into the branch. Worked out really well, just using the full feed line that we have out here. And actually, for the first time ever, coming out to Tuttle, well, with one exception, actually, we ran into 2 other operators out here, and I wish I could remember their call signs right now, but I can't remember call signs. But they were out here, they just did an activation, and they're off to John's River, which is next door, basically. And so hopefully we'll get a park-to-park in with them as well while we're out here. But Brooks is going to take it on himself, and we'll talk a little bit at first about the components of a single sideband activation. And I'll talk a little bit about at least the exchange I use when I do it. And then we'll hop on the air. So I'm going to go ahead and change the camera angle here a little bit. And we'll talk about the exchanges, because that's one of the first things. And I was telling Brooks earlier, now he has worked a lot of stations. Have you counted how many parks you've hunted?
I'm just shy of 300.
Okay, so he's done a lot of hunting. He is one of the people activators appreciate being out there. And so having done 300 parks, you're used to hearing the exchange, people use. But I was telling Brooks that it's kind of funny when you first get on the air yourself, it's easy to get tripped up, and it's a very normal thing. I don't know why, but especially when you've only been on one end of the activation, for whatever reason, you can get a little tripped up. He may not do that, and that's
Yeah,
that means he's a lot better than I am. So what you normally do besides the CQ? So I usually, when I do a full CQ in single sideband, let me make sure I can see this okay. Let me put on my glasses so I can see my own writing. So I'll say CQ POTA, and then I'll usually say CQ Parks on the air. And then I may say this is, and I'll put his call sign in here, Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ POTA. Now, here's the thing. This is not a contest. This is not, there is no right or wrong way to do this. You can do all you want to. And change it around, and I usually do that when I'm doing single sideband. I'll sometimes shift it around a little bit, which is perfectly fine to do. I will tell you this though, usually when I'm doing a park activation, I've heard people do really, really, really long CQs, and especially once you get a few people hunting you and you know you're spotted, it's just not necessary to do that, because some people maybe they'll listen to you do like a super long CQ and they'll think, gosh, I'll never get through. So it's better just to kind of keep them short after that. So that would be like my first go when I'm calling CQ until I get things rolling in. Then I may just say after I've worked somebody, I may just say QRZ. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie for Parks on the Air, and I'll say that as I end one exchange and go into the next one. And if I'm calling CQ again, I'll just say CQ POTA, this is Kilo 4 Sierra Whiskey Lima calling CQ for Parks on the Air. Mm-hmm. And that's usually as long as I ever make it when I do that. So let's say that you call CQ POTA, and then you hear my call sign, Kilo 4 Sierra Whiskey Lima, and I just call it out. And then you hear me and you'll say Kilo 4 Sierra Whiskey Lima, I'm getting ready to do it as if it were CW. You are, and we'll say that you'll say I'm 5 by 9. You are 5 by 9 and then you can repeat that 5 by 9, and then you'll say at park kilo, and then what is this one? It's 4861.
Yeah.
4861. And then you can say QSL. And that's usually what I say. The main thing is you need to make sure you acknowledge their call sign, give them a signal report, and tell them your park. I would say that if you're in for some reason, super crazy, huge, massive single sideband pileup at a rare park, it would be totally forgivable to even leave off the park number sometimes, because everybody that contacts you knows that.
Right.
And in CW, we don't even use the park number as a part of the normal exchange because we assume that when people are contacting us, they're doing it through the Spot network, and so they know who we are.
Sure.
The exceptions for that are park to parks in CW, and if someone asks you. So sometimes people will ask you for your state or your county, especially county hunters will do that. So then Kilo 4 Sierra Whiskey Lima, you are 5 by 9 at park number Kilo 4861 QSL, and then they'll come back and say, QSL, and they'll give their information, and when they come back to you, you can say, thank you, and 7 threes, and you can say, have a great day, have a great week,
right.
whatever, or good luck. You can add in anything like that, and then you can say, and then you can just answer or finish it off by saying, thank you in 7 threes from Kilo 4. For you, it would be Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie. I hope I'm doing this right, because you know what? When you're doing this and you're not actually on the air, you don't often get it right. So I'll say these are the responses here. And then what I would say to end this, like I said, after each one, I assume someone else may be listening for the next call. So I'll say QRZ. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie for Parks on the Air. And here's the interesting thing. I'm thinking about this now. When he comes back, you can say thank you in 7 threes. You can say your call sign there if you want to, or you can just say thank you in 7 threes. This is like optional, but because if you end it, you can say QRZ. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie for Parks on the Air. Someone else is probably going to come back to you after that, and then you just work them and you go back through the whole thing again. If you don't hear anybody after you say QRZ and you wait 3 seconds or whatever, then you can say CQ POTA, blah, blah, blah.
So what are your thoughts on giving the park number in the CQ?
I don't do that. There's nothing wrong with doing it. In fact, if you are finding that there's a lot of dead air there where, you're in between, working maybe 5 or 6 or several contacts, and then you've got some dead air where people are looking for you. It doesn't hurt to draw out the CQ a little bit longer in those cases, because it also kind of, in a way, it's like it's holding your frequency when you're doing it. So people will tune to you and they're like, oh, Thomas is on the air, or Brooks is on the air, I can hear him right now. The ones that are really kind of weird is if you take really long pauses in between after you've worked someone can tune to your frequency, and if you're not there for 7 or 8 seconds, they assume you're done, and so they'll just move on.
Sure.
So yeah, I think it's important to not have a lot of dead air. But I also keep in mind, and I tell people this all the time, with Parks on the Air and even Summits on the Air, it's not a contest. So things don't have to be done at contest speeds. You don't have to keep things so super short that they're just really curt,
Right.
like you would in a contest. Because contests, they don't want to chat.
No, they definitely don't.
And it's terrible form to chat in a contest,
yeah,
right?
I've learned that in a couple of contests I've messed with. Like, no rag chewing.
It's not a rag chew. It's just not the time for rag chewing. And so, to me that, with Parks on the Air, it's a much more casual, more laid back thing. And so it's perfectly fine too. When you get a park to park as well, you want to make sure you tell them your park where you are, and that again, say, hey, I'm at park number, thank you for the park to park. When you finish it, it's always okay to tell them anything. Usually I tell people have a great day, have a great week, or whatever,
Right, sure. Nothing wrong with a little politeness.
No. We need more of that in the world, you know. And Parks on the Air is just a great. You'll see when we get going here. So, what we'll do now, we need to get you spotted. We need to get you on the air, and start calling CQ. Now, I'm going to reposition the camera, so I'm going to turn this off here for just a second. Okay, and we're back. There's some strong shadows here from where the sun's coming down, but we'll get started. And so probably the first thing you should do, I'm going to spot you, but as I'm spotting you, we have to make sure this frequency is clear. So yeah, just ask if the frequency is in use.
Is this frequency in use? KO4QCC.
You may do it one more time. And
Is this frequency in use? KO4QCC.
that sounds professional, man.
Thank you. Yeah, my family tells me I've got a good radio voice.
You do. You have a great radio voice. Okay, so you go ahead and start calling CQ, and I'm going to spot you as we're doing it. So hold your place while we're doing this. So here we go. So yeah, go ahead and just start calling CQ.
Right. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
That's perfect.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
Okay, keep going.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie.
Okay, I'm submitting your spot right now.
Excellent. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
Yeah, you're in.
Excellent. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
Yep, just go ahead.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
And you're doing a great job.
Thank you. I'm a little bit nervous, I gotta admit.
You're doing a great job.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. Again. Kilo Bravo 7, Golf Alpha Romeo. I've got you about a 5-7, 5x7 into park. Kilo 4861, over.
Have you fine, double nickel to Alexandria, Virginia, QSL. Thanks for the activation and good luck today.
QSL, thanks for hunting. 7-3. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, QRZ.
Man, you're like a pro. Great job.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
You sound like a pro already.
Thank you. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
Kilo Juliet 8, Mike Romeo Hotel.
Kilo Juliet 8, Mike Romeo Hotel. I've got you 5-9 into park. Kilo 4861, QSL.
QSL, I got you about a 4-6 in Ohio, QSL.
QSL, copy the 4-6 into Ohio. Thank you so much for hunting.
73, thanks for the park.
Thank you. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, QRZ.
November 4, Charlie Whiskey Bravo.
4, Charlie Alpha Echo.
November 4 station.
November 4, Charlie Whiskey Bravo.
November 4, Charlie Whiskey Bravo. Got you a nice strong 5-9 into Park Kilo 4861. QSL.
Hey, Roger, you're 5-7 in South Carolina, 73.
73, thanks for hunting. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, QRZ.
Kilo 4, Charlie Alpha Echo.
Charlie Alpha Echo station.
Kilowatt 4, Charlie Alpha Echo. Tyler, you're 5-9, South Carolina.
Thanks for the 5-9. I've got you 5-9 as well into Park Kilo 4861. QSL.
QSL 7-3.
7-3, this is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie. QRZ.
Kilo Oscar 4, Sierra X-Ray Hotel.
Kilo Oscar 4, Sierra X-Ray Hotel. I've got you about a 5-7, 5x7 into Kilo 4861. Over.
QSL, I have you a 5-7 as well in Asheville, North Carolina. Thanks for the activation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You're not too far away from me. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie. QRZ.
Man, that was a great run there.
Yeah.
Got 5 so far.
Kind of shaking.
Yeah, you should be. It's great though.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. I missed that one guy's state.
Oh, I probably got it in here, but you're doing a great job.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
Man, you're acting like you have done this like 3.
Whiskey 0, Charlie Golf Charlie.
Whiskey Zero station.
Whiskey 0, Charlie Golf Charlie.
Charlie Golf Charlie.
Whiskey Zero, Charlie Golf Charlie. I've got you a nice strong 5-9 into Park Kilo 4861. Over.
Roger, I got you pulled up on QRZ. I see you over by Old Fort.
Absolutely, born and raised.
Roger. You did a little bit of work over on that old Collins and Aikman plant. It might not even still be there anymore.
Now, it's still there, but I don't think it's CNA anymore. I actually worked there for a while when I was about 20 years old.
Roger. I worked on just about all the Collins and Aikman plants back when I worked for Piedmont Electric a long time ago. I'm in Tennessee now, but I was born and raised in North Carolina. I heard you in there calling. I pulled you up and said, "Oh, Ford." I said, "Let me give him a holler across the hill there."
Well, I certainly appreciate you hollering at me. 7-3.
73. Whiskey Foxtrot 4 India. Kilo Charlie 4 Zulu Uniform Alpha.
Whiskey Foxtrot 4 India.
Yeah, Whiskey Foxtrot 4 India, 5-9 in North Carolina.
Excellent, thank you. I've got you a 5-9 as well here in the Park Kilo 4861. Over.
Got QSL to 5-9. Have fun.
Excellent, thank you so much. This is KO4QCC. QRZ.
Kilo Charlie 4 Zulu Uniform Alpha.
Kilo Charlie 4 Zulu Uniform Alpha. I've got you a 5-9. 5-9 into Kilo 4861. Over.
QSL, thank you for the 5-9. You're 5-9 Georgia, 5-9 GA. Thank you for the activation, sir.
Absolutely, thank you so much for hunting. 7-3. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie. QRZ.
Kilo Bravo 8, Echo Radio Alpha.
Kilo Bravo 8 Echo Radio Alpha. I've got you about a 5-5, 5x5 into Park Kilo 4861. QSL.
QSL, you are 5-5 into West Virginia. Name here is Jim. Over.
All right, well, I certainly appreciate the contact, Jim. Appreciate you hunting me in 7-3. This is KO4QCC. QRZ. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
I should have told you to act like you didn't know what you were doing, because beginners are going to be like, holy cow, man.
Yeah, no, I promise. It's the first time ever.
You are doing a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
You got 9.
6, 7. Got 9 already. Wow.
One more and
One
you got
more.
a valid activation. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yes, you're doing a great job.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
This happens sometimes. You just have these blanks where you just keep calling CQ for a while.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
Kilo 3, Mike Papa Romeo.
Kilo 3, Mike Papa Romeo. I've got you a 5-9, 5x9 into Kilo 4861. QSL.
And you're 5-9 in Tennessee. Thanks for being out there in the park.
Absolutely. Thanks for hunting. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie. QRZ. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
You got a valid activation.
Indeed. I'm stoked.
Yeah, your first park.
Yeah, awesome.
Already in the books, so now it's just all icing on the cake.
Absolutely. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie, calling CQ Parks on the Air.
KN4 X-Ray Juliet.
KN4 X-Ray Juliet. I've got you about a 5-7, 5x7 into Park Kilo 4861. Over.
Okay, Tyler, you're also about a 5-7, 5-7 into Richmond, Virginia this morning, or this afternoon. QSL.
QSL, copy the 5-7 into Virginia. Thank you so much for hunting.
Thanks for the park. Have fun. KN4XJ.
7-3. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie. QRZ.
Kilo Echo 4, Victor X-Ray Charlie.
Kilo Echo 4, Victor X-Ray Charlie. I've got you a 5-9, 5x9 into Kilo 4861. QSL.
QSL, you're about a 5-7 to 5-8 here in Asheville, North Carolina. Thank you. Make yourself a wonderful day.
Doing my best. Thank you so much. You up there in Asheville, you're not far from me at all. We're just down here in Lenore.
QSL, surprised we're working this close.
Me too.
You're sounding great on this end. Thank you so much. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie. QRZ.
Kilo 4 Bravo Uniform Charlie.
Kilo 4, Bravo Uniform Charlie. I've got you about a 5-8, 5x8 into Kilo 4861. Over.
QSL, got you about a 5-8 here. Stedman, North Carolina. Go ahead.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the contact. In 7-3s, this is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie. QRZ. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
If you want to in a little bit, we can move up to 20 meters.
Love to.
Let's do it. Go ahead and say you're going to QSY to 20 meters. I usually do that.
This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie Charlie. I'm going to QSY to 20 meters. Thanks for all the hunters.
It's really good. And you wait like about 5 seconds because sometimes people
Kilo Mike 4,
like that.
India Oscar Alpha.
Kilo Mike 4, India Oscar Alpha. Can you confirm I copied your call sign correctly?
Roger. We got you 5-9 here in Northwest Georgia.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I've got you about a 5'8", 5x8 here at Park Kilo 4861. Over.
Roger, Roger. Thank you for the park. 73s and have fun out there.
Absolutely. This is my first activation ever, and I'm having an absolute ball. Thank you.
You can try to do one more QRZ and see if somebody else is just waiting out there, and then do a QSY. That's usually what I do.
Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie, Charlie, QRZ.
Yeah.
All right, KO4QCC, going to QSY to 20 meters. Thank you.
That's good. Perfect.
All right.
Okay, now the band is really interesting today. You're right. I have never, from 40 meters, worked Asheville, especially 2 Asheville stations from here, which tells me that the 40-meter band's a little short today.
Indeed.
You know,
Indeed.
instead of working a lot of Ohio, Michigan, mid-Atlantic states here from North Carolina, you were working like states right around us, almost like we had it set up in an INVIS configuration, which we haven't done. So that's really interesting. I'd be kind of curious to see how 20 meters is acting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm gonna get things changed. So here on the side, you can't see this, but I can show you here. But I'm logging for him on hammers. So I need to go in here and make sure I change this to 20 meters. Now here's one of the great things about having the 705 is it's a lot easier, and you can't see this with the camera very well, unfortunately. It's just a lot of glare today where the sun is. But since you have a spectrum display, you can sort of see where stations are. Now, I tend to go to the higher part of the 20-meter band with POTA, especially when there's like a contest or something going on, like up there in the 300 to like between maybe 300 and 330 is usually where I look. Sometimes it's usually a little quieter up there, not always. It is tight today.
It is tight today. Let's see.
And I probably got that. Yeah, I do have it set to course. There we go. Now, there you go. It'll be a little quick. Like that's way too quick the way I had it, because I was using it on AM and running around the frequency, around the bands kind of quickly for band scanning. Ooh.
Let's see.
96 doesn't sound too bad right now. Nor 95, right?
Might have found us a spot.
I think so. I say go ahead and call CQ, and I'll go ahead and start spotting you. Oh, you can ask for the frequencies you use, of course. We better do it right so people are watching.
Indeed,
you know?
Indeed. Is this frequency in use? KO4QCC. Check one more time. Is this frequency in use? KO4QCC.
There you go.
All right, well, I'm going to start calling CQ then.
Go for it.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie, Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
And don't worry too much if you hear stations off the side of you. Just go ahead and keep calling. But that is fairly heavy QRM. But
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie, Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
it's hard right now to find a really good clear spot. So
Indeed, indeed. The band is packed.
it is.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie, Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie, Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
You are spotted.
Excellent. Hopefully I'll get some on 20 as well.
Yeah, and if it's a little too much QRM for other people, it's not bothering us, but it could be for other people.
Sure.
We'll just move a little bit.
Gotcha. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec, Charlie, Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
There you go.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ Parks on the air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ for Parks on the air.
Sometimes it takes a while.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ Parks on the air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ for Parks on the air.
So off here on the side, I'm keeping your spot fresh for you, by the
Excellent, excellent. Got a wingman.
way. You too.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ Parks on the air.
November 0, Oscar Papa Sierra.
November 0 station.
November 0, Oscar Papa Sierra.
November 0 Oscar Papa Sierra. I've got you about a 5-5, 5x5 into Park Kilo 4861 QSL.
Roger, got you at about a 5-5 and a Mike November.
Excellent. Thanks for the 5-5 into Mike November. 7-3s. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie QRZ.
Kilo 5 Papa Romeo Yankee.
Kilo 5 Papa Romeo Yankee. I've got you about a 5-8, 5x8 into Park Kilo 4861 QSL.
You may have to go back to him one more time.
Kilo 5 Papa Romeo Yankee 5x8, 5x8 Kilo 4861 QSL.
Roger, I lost you there for half a second. This
That
is Kilo
happens.
5 Papa Romeo Yankee. You, sir, are a 5-5, 5-4 into South Florida. 5-5 into South Florida.
QSL, copy the 5-5 into Florida. Thank you so much for hunting in 7-3. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie QRZ.
Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie, November 0, Oscar Papa Sierra. Realize I'm actually in a park, so we got a park to park over here.
Okay, yeah, go ahead with the park to park.
Kilo 2516.
Copy Kilo 2516 QSL.
Roger. And I believe you were in what, Kilo 4861?
QSL, Kilo 4861. Thank you for the park to park. 73. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie QRZ.
Man, your first activation, you've already got a park to park.
I know, that's exciting. I'm glad we got one. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie for CQ, or calling CQ for Parks on the air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ for Parks on the air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ for Parks on the air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ for Parks on the air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Oscar 4 Quebec Charlie Charlie calling CQ for Parks on the air.
Sometimes this happens.
Oh, if I don't get another contact, I'm thrilled either way.
Man, you've done very, very well. Very well.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ Parks on the Air.
Tell you what, if you want to, we could maybe even hop up to the 15-meter band.
Sure, let's try 15.
Let's do it. Okay, so yeah, you can tell QSY.
QSY to 15 meters. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie.
Of course, you were already on that. Man, you're doing so well.
Having a ball.
So you just want to do something north of 21,275 for general class frequencies.
All righty. Oh,
Okay, dialogue, yeah.
I'm terrible at home
Hitting it.
hitting that in the middle of a QSO and
That's smart.
losing myself. So I
That's
lock
smart
it
to lock
every
it.
time.
That is very smart. I have to do that with the FT817. I'm terrible to hit that with my fingers when I'm.
15. Of course, I guess it's the contest still. Probably going to say there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
on
there's
15
a lot
even.
going on in 15. You're right. And we'll need to switch that to press the CW over there. So
Oh,
you can,
correct. I didn't
That's the
see
reason
that.
it's sounding so narrow.
Woo. Ooh. Got some noise there.
You'll probably find it a little easier to. Man, that thing is alive. These are. I think there's. Mike just told me there's a minor storm going on right now. I need to make sure I change hammers so that. Okay, let's see here. 15 meters. I'll put you in here.
I didn't even write down what frequency I was on for 20.
Don't worry about it. We got it on video too.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Good point.
That's the thing I always kind of look back later. I'm like, this is a great thing about doing videos is if I have to, I can check that. But it doesn't really matter the frequency. When you're turning in the logs, they just want to know the band. So,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So it doesn't matter. You just need to make sure you got the
Ooh,
right
he's
band.
right on there.
Yeah, he is. And you can keep going up north there. It is active. I'll be shocked if somebody's not sitting on 350. But,
Yeah.
but you
Indeed.
never know. It does sound like somebody's right there.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, here's the thing about QRM from other stations in a contest.
Uh-huh.
Like the ICOM IC705 is a great radio, so you can narrow that filter, and the QRM doesn't bother you too badly. Like right now, it's really wide. Like we can put it like, you can hit the filter button and go down
Right,
to like
okay.
filter number 2, and that cuts out a little bit more, makes it a little more narrow.
Yeah, gotcha.
But other people may struggle hearing you because
Right.
the QRM may be louder than our 10-watt signal.
Sure,
right?
sure.
So-
Absolutely. Yes.
And and Brooks was pointing this out before we started rolling the camera, but it's very true. During contests like this, there is no reason why with Parks on the Air you couldn't just sit here and hunt all of these stations. They would all count as park contacts with Parks on the Air and with Summits on the Air. Any other kind of field activation like that, these all count. But part of the fun of doing Parks on the Air and these kind of field activities to me is, kind of doing it in the true spirit where you're working other parks and working, so yeah, that sounds pretty clear to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm gonna try
I
that
would hop on that and I'll spot you.
Is this frequency in use? KO4QCC. Is this frequency in use? KO4QCC. Sounding fine to me. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
I'm just trying to get you spotted here.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
You got 16 logged already.
That's so cool. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. Want to get at least one on 15.
You can do it. You can do it.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
And now. Come on.
We'll get it.
You'll get it. It'll happen.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
Yep, just got to be persistent.
Yep.
We got all the time in the world right now.
Absolutely. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
You're going to get somebody.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get it.
It's going to happen.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air. I love this little radio.
It's wonderful. The audio from the 705 is about the best of any field radio that I have.
Well, it's amazing how much better it sounds than my 706 at home. It's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah, it's got a good front, but that's somebody doing QRM. That's okay, though.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ, Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
Okay, I tell you what. So we'll cheat here a little bit, and we'll make you T7.
Okay.
So how do I do this? No, let me think. Oh, record. Okay, well, that's doing it for record level. So what I want you to do is just call your CQ, and then I'll record it, and we'll have it do it automatically. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Whoops.
Oh, do I not have to hit the mic?
You
Oh,
don't
okay.
have to hit the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Record T4.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
There we go.
CQ POTA, CQ POTA, CQ Parks on the Air. This is Kilo Oscar 4, Quebec Charlie
Perfect.
Charlie, calling CQ for Parks on the Air.
That's perfect.
Excellent.
You sound great. So now you just press T4 once, and you can't hear it because but it does a little countdown to show you. I don't have the monitor turned on. I really should turn on the monitor, but.
Right.
And now what you can do is press and hold T4, and now let go. Now it'll keep doing it until someone answers, and then if someone answers your call, all you have to do is just click the button once, and it'll disengage
gotcha.
The function. I didn't want you at first to rely on voice messaging because you got to get used to the flow, which you got used to like on the very first call. But basically, I always tell people at first, try not to use voice message memory keying too much.
I see that.
Just until you get the flow down. And when you get the flow down, then yeah, use it, because voice message memory keying makes it so much easier to log, to just kind of handle your workflow. It can be a little awkward in voice sometimes, because, for example, your CQ will be recorded. People expect that almost. And then you'll notice sometimes when you answer someone that has a really nice clear CQ, and then they come back to you and they sound all muffled because they don't have the microphone near them, and it's not as nice as the recording.
Absolutely.
Right? But and so it can be a little weird, like if you use it as at the end of the exchange. You can record, hey, thanks so much for the contact 73s QRZ, this is blah, blah, blah. You can do that, but sometimes it sounds a little weird, but there's nothing wrong with doing that, to be honest. But in CW, since if you're using electronic keyer, you don't hear that change as much.
Right, that
so
makes
it sounds
sense.
like a consistent voice, but man, you've done so great. Like, so you've got all these contacts, and you've got them all the way. 40 meters was short for sure. I mean,
indeed.
You were working Georgia, Virginia, West Virginia,
got
Tennessee.
At least 4 North Carolina stations.
And that's just insane. I don't know if I've ever done that with a 40 meter end-fed half wave, not in an NVIS position.
Right.
So the band's short. 20 meters, you got a couple good contacts all the way up into Minnesota and down to Florida. And 15, if we can get through there, hey, that's great too. I feel like eventually you will get somebody, but that band is pretty crowded for a normal day. We've only been able to really use 15 meters effectively for the past 3 months. It's starting to get better. As the, solar cycle moves on, hopefully 15 will become a really good band, I think, especially for summits on the air.
Right.
You can work some really interesting DX off of the 15 meter band as well, and the 10 meter band. So another thing, and Brooks knows this, of course, but the 40 meter end-fed half waves resonate on 40, 20, 15, and 10 meters, sort of just automatically without doing any other mods to it. And those are great bands. Now, the negative is on a day when there's a contest, you can't go to the WARC bands. So you can't go to 30, 17, and what is it? What's the meter band?
12.
12 meters. You can't go to 12 meters, which all of those are WARC bands. And I guess 60 meters kind of counts as that in a way. Sorry, that's a notification that one of my friends is on a summit right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I could work him really quickly. CW actually while he's up there. But yeah, and so that's one thing about having an antenna tuner. So if we put an AT on this, we could easily tune up the 17 meter band, the 12 meter band, whatever we wanted to. That's the great thing about having it. It won't be as efficient as running it straight off of the resonant bands, but
right.
So
you could tune this antenna to 17, 12, and so on.
Yeah, you could. With a good antenna tuner, you probably could do that.
Cool.
There are some that may struggle with, some of the bands, but I find that the higher bands, I think it's more problematic when especially if you're trying to go to a frequency lower than the resonant frequency of the antenna. It doesn't mean you can't do it. You can. I'm pretty sure that we could load it up on 60 meters. Probably not 80 meters though.
Right.
But you could probably still do 60 with a good antenna tuner, because what you're doing is just matching the impedance. You're not actually tuning the antenna at all.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the trickiest concepts for me to grasp when I was first getting into radio, was what an antenna tuner is actually doing.
Yeah, it's just finding that. It's just finding that resonant point, really. I mean, not resonant point. It's finding that impedance match,
right.
so that your transceiver's happy.
Yes.
That's all. But I think it's important, like when you get your 705 and you have an in-fed half wave here, an antenna tuner is, I think it's a good thing to have on hand anyway, even if you just have a small manual one, because it can really save your bacon. For example, let's say today that somehow you put the antenna up and somehow broke off 3 feet of it.
Right.
And something weird, freaky happened and you broke off 3 feet of it. Well, with no antenna tuner, you're probably not going to be resonant on any bands. With an antenna tuner, probably you can just
still
tune
make
it
it
and keep
work.
going. It'll still work for you. So that's the reason why you really want to have one along for the ride, even if you're not into that. Some people are really adamant about using only resonant antennas. I'm not that way.
Right.
For park activations and things. If I'm trying to work DX, then yeah, you probably want to get the most you can out of your antenna and wattage. We'll let it go here for a little while longer, and then I think what we're planning to do today is actually, I think I'm going to do an activation as well, but I think we may hike into the spot where I'm going to do an activation, if you're good with that.
Absolutely. Sounds great to me.
I'll have the luxury of having someone else log. So that's the thing I always struggle with, is doing my electronic logs while I'm logging in the field.
Come on, let's get one contact on 15.
It'd be nice to get 115 contact. That's right.
It would. That voice keyer is a very handy feature.
It is. For single sideband especially, there's no way I would take a radio to the field that doesn't have that and use it regularly. If you're buying a new radio and you're doing single sideband, you really need a voice memory key, or if you're doing regular activations, unless you just got all the time in the world, because it saves your voice. Like for really,
that's the thing. I could already start telling, like, wow, that would wear your voice out after a while.
It does. It can wear your voice down after a while, especially things like field day, where you're just constantly over and over and over again. You know what we can do, actually? Let's see about maybe working some other stations, park to park.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good idea. I didn't even think about that.
I rarely do, because for me, I'm trying to struggle with, there are a lot of CW stations out there right now. I'm looking for people on the bands we can do. Okay. No, we already worked in 0 OPS.
We did.
On there.
Yep.
Did we work PTX? I don't think so.
Don't believe so.
Mississippi on 40 meters. Today,
Okay.
that may not work, but let's try it. Okay, so go to 7205. Now that is someone with spurs. You hear all that nasty splattering?
Yeah.
Okay, now we can hear a hunter.
Yeah.
Not super strong. That would probably be a challenge. And today,
57 here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he's just barely there.
you can always try, but with the splattering, okay, here's somebody on 7240 that's in South Carolina.
Okay, cool. Oh.
Thanks, MJ73.
Well, maybe not.
Maybe not.
We may not be able to hear them.
Yeah, I could hear the
Yeah,
other
I'm not
guy
hearing
better
the
than
other
that
guy.
one. Can't hear him
Yeah.
at all.
He must just, maybe the band changed. I'm trying to find other, let's see, where is this? So try 7276. I don't hear anything. That's somebody in West Virginia, supposedly, but you know what? This What happens is on the spotting page, when it refreshes, it'll like change what you're looking at, and it just refreshed on me, so I can't even find it now in the list.
Totally get that.
It happens. The refreshing's good, though. It's refreshing. Let's see. Okay. You've tried 72.5. There are a lot of CW stations out there today, actually.
Well, I'm thrilled with this as my first activation.
Oh, you're just
for
doing
sure,
awesome.
For sure.
Okay, for fun, go on 18151.
18151?
Yeah.
Okay.
So go to 17 meters. We'll see if anybody's there. If you can hear them, so you'll need to switch it over to single sideband on that because it defaulted to
You said 151?
151. We'll see if we hear anybody. If not, I won't bother pulling out the antenna tuner. This is Missouri, which is kind of short for 17 meters. 17 meters I would expect to work like the Rockies and the Dakotas and things like that.
Gotcha,
Probably this kind of day. So that's a little close in Missouri, but I thought we'd try.
India 5, Sierra, November Zulu.
Yeah, so you can hear this end.
Hear a hunter.
You hear a hunter there. Let's see if I see anybody else on here real quick, and then maybe we'll just...
QSL, I got you at a 5-2 in West Texas.
West Texas.
Yep. Texas actually sometimes really comes in nicely here. Well, I said they're... You know what? They're in Oklahoma. They're in Oklahoma. So that's actually a little more doable. Oh, 53. Go to 53.
153 or...
Yeah.
Okay.
There are more people in 17 meters today because of the contest.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It's like a refuge on contest days. I'm not hearing a thing.
No.
Now, so technically, if I put the antenna tuner on, we moved it down a little bit, we tuned it up, you would be able to hear a little bit more. But to me, if you can't hear them at all, even with it not tuned, then you're not going to hear them really when we do the tuner. It doesn't make that big of a difference. It just helps, again, with the impedance match. So, that looks like about all of the single sideband stations. Oh, let me see. Go to 14252. That's a new one. And what you'll do, by the way, if you ever call somebody, you want to say park to park, park to park. You can give your call sign, but then always say park to park, park to park.
Okay.
Because they want to hear that punch through.
Should I give my call sign first and then say park to park, or the other way around?
Yeah, you can do that. You can give your call sign first and then say park to park, park to park.
I've worked him before.
Yeah, go for it. Oh, already today?
No, just in the past. I just recognize his call sign.
Yep. You can get him, I think. There's a lot of noise there, but I think
there
you
is.
Thank you so much for Ohio, 73.
KO4QCC, park to park, park to park.
Yes.
Oh, no, that's somebody else.
There's a lot of noise.
There is a lot of noise. That's tough. Ooh, that QRM's all over him.
It is. You can narrow it and like you had it. Sometimes that helps.
Uh-huh.
There you go. You can call him now.
KO4QCC, park to park, park to park.
Yep. Okay, go for it.
KO4QCC, park to park, park to park. Man, that's tough.
He's getting kind of quieter at the same time. go for it.
KO4QCC, park to park, park to park.
Roger. Thank you for Northwestern Pennsylvania, 73. November Bravo, 5
KO4QCC, park to park, park to park.
You can maybe get him this time.
KO4QCC, park to park, park to park.
He's not hearing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we won't worry about it. You know what? You've had a great run.
Absolutely, I am.
You have had a
tickled.
great run. This is fantastic. I've got your logs here. So I'll tell you what's probably happening here is, and you probably know this, first of all, really, really dense right here in this portion of the band where he is. Now, if this is one of those cases where if you had a 100 watt radio with you and you had an antenna rated for that and you could do it, that would make a big difference probably in terms of just getting your heard, just like giving you a little more punch when you're trying to get in there. With single sideband, QRP can be kind of challenging, but we've got an efficient antenna, we've got really good audio coming out, so all those things are in your favor, and that's the reason why you just like slam through all those contacts, right?
Indeed.
So that is one of those cases, though, that if you are running something more than QRP, that you could turn up your power a little bit more and probably eventually punch through. You always have to remember, too, that you don't know what it's like on the other activator's end of things. I have been to parks before where I had, like, QRM on my end. So besides all the QRM on the band of all the people out there, I've had situations where, I've had like a electric line noise or something like that that was making it harder for me to hear. My noise floor was higher. And so I know there have been times I've been out there and people were calling me, but I just couldn't hear them because their level was below the noise level.
Right.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, this was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
This was fantastic.
Fantastic time. That was great.
Yeah, really good job. And I'll cut it here. We're approaching an hour.
Gotcha.
What are your first thoughts? Like, what do you think about operating the 705? Because this is the radio you're considering.
Yes,
buying,
definitely.
Right?
It's basically either between this or the 7300, but with the way this went and knocking the contacts out like that, definitely I think it'll be the 705. Thrilled with the performance of it. Very, very pleased. The audio sounds great. The audio coming in sounds fantastic. I'm so used to the 706 that I've got at home, and it's night and day. I mean, it's probably 20 or 30 years difference between the two radios as well.
Right.
But yeah, and just all the features and the spectrum scope I adore. Yeah, absolutely. I think the decision is made. And the only reason I was considering the 7300 was the fear of QRP versus 100 watts.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm tickled, absolutely tickled.
So this is great because actually what you're talking about is a really common thing with new ham radio operators that want to get into doing field activations. And that is, do I go for a QRP radio or a QRO radio?
Right.
What I tend to tell people, and it really depends on like sitting with them and talking to them usually to really find it out, but what I always tell them is if you are planning to use this at home, it's your first radio and you're planning to use it in the field some, get a field ready 100 watt radio as your very first radio.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You already have a 100 watt radio because you've got the 706 at home. And I always tell people that if their main interest is doing summit, park, island activations, things like that, where you're the DX, you can get away with QRP with single sideband very easily because you're the DX. And that gives you, we always joke about it, and it says it gives you like an extra 15 dB of gain.
Yeah.
And it does. I was once, and this was during the doldrums of the last sun cycle, really. It was for National Parks on the Air. I was heading to West Virginia to do an activation with my buddy Eric, heading through West Virginia to go to Ohio, and we were going to do this big run. But I stopped off at a very rare park in West Virginia in the New River Gorge. And that day, my plans changed. It was snowing, and I didn't have my Subaru then. I had, had a minivan with bald tires.
Oh.
And the place I'd planned to go was way down in this gorge on a single lane road, and it was just snow covered. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing that today because I need to be able to get back out of here.
Indeed.
So I went to this other place that was technically a part of the park that I knew about, and it was just a boat landing. That's all it was. So there were no trees, no nothing. It was just behind this like commercial place, but it was an official boat landing for the gorge on the park area. And the only thing I had with me was a loop antenna, a little small W4OP loop antenna. I put it up. I was running probably 10 or 12 watts into it with my, I think it was my KX2 or KX3. And I thought, man, all these people are going to want this rare park, and here I am with like QRP power, single sideband in a really deep gorge near a river with a very small antenna. There's no way. But it was a rare park, and I worked solid, like probably 70 or 80 minutes of just solid contacts all over the US and Canada.
Nice.
And I couldn't believe it, but it was because people were listening for me.
Indeed.
And makes a huge difference. So,
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's it. And I think that the 705 is, from what I know from what you've said, is a really good radio for you because it gives you all the advantages of a 7300. You don't have the power output. But with the 705, you also have a GPS in it. You've got D-Star that you can do and play with. You've got all the nice message memories and things that come in so handy in the field. Plus you've got these little, you know, like we're running it off a battery right now, but the battery pack, you'll get 5 watts out with that.
Right.
You know, and this 3 amp hour battery will run this through 3, 4, maybe more park activations before it needs to be recharged.
Nice.
So all that stuff really amounts to, you know, a really good solid field radio. And as you can see today, this is the one you want for a contest. In fact, it's making me realize that when we do my activation here in a little bit, I was thinking about using kind of one of the, I was thinking about using the 5105, the Chevy, just because I haven't used it in a while. But I'm not going to do it today because it won't handle the contest conditions very well. I'll end up using probably my KX2.
Right.
That's probably what I'll end up using today. So this radio will serve you well for a field day or for whatever you're doing. Anyway, Brooks, thank you so much for doing this and allowing me to being
Thank
just such a nice guy. And I'm here too, but I've been off camera like I always am. But I really appreciate this. Thanks for sharing like your very first activation with us.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you meeting me out here and, you know, kind of holding my hand through it, really, you know?
He and I have been trying to work on this for about 3 weeks, getting our schedules to align. I've had a lot going on in my family life. My mom's been in the hospital. All these other things have happened, and he has an active family life. So I'm just happy it worked out today. I just kind of contacted him this morning and say, hey, there's an opening today. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad it worked out. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas.
Everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us on this. And if you got any questions or comments, please feel free to chime in. I'm sure that Brooks will probably follow the comments too if you got questions for him.
Sure, yeah,
and,
definitely.
Until next time, 7 3s.
Yes, 7 3s.